Do you ever notice that when you're watching police interaction videos and they have to use their firearm in self-defense, that it's never just like one or two shots fired, but sometimes the entire magazine? Sometimes they reload and fire again. Today I want to look at, is this just some kind of trigger happy training that they're getting, or is there something else going on here that you as a concealed carrier should absolutely keep in mind? Because I think there is one important thing that not a lot of people talk about when you watch these videos. I'm going to give you my straight up opinion on some of these cops and their training and exactly what is going on here and what you can take from this in your own concealed carry journey, wherever you may be in that. Now, of course, I want to hear your opinion too. Have you ever been in one of these situations? Or what do you think about the training that cops actually get? Let me know your opinion down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So surely you've seen some of these videos floating around, and there's only so much I can show you here on YouTube before they decide to either pull it down or demonetize or anything like that. But you guys know the videos, and I'll show you as much as I can here and there. But the point is, you know how some of these things go. If you have a suspect that pulls a firearm on a cop, the cop is left with no choice. But then what happens after that is like, man, was that really necessary? I mean, you almost always see these comments, and at first glance, you may even think the same thing, like, okay, dude, that was a little much. But when you look at the way cops are trained and the situations they find themselves in, it sheds a little bit more light on. Now, I'm not saying that every single video out there is totally justified and they fired as many shots as needed and that was the best possible scenario. But in general, cops are not taught to shoot to wound. Actually, concealed carriers aren't really taught that either. Shooting to wound basically means that you have the motor skills, probably the best motor skills of anybody out there. And that means you're going for maybe an arm or a lower extremity or something like that, when your fine motor skills are going to deteriorate so quickly. Just try going to the range next time and just get a little bit stressed. Shoot and move and see how your adrenaline, how stress kind of plays into your shooting ability. You will find yourself missing more often unless you train for this quite a bit. So not only is your adrenaline, the stress, your fine motor skills, all of these things are deteriorating, but the NYPD found that only 20 to 30% of shots that you take in a situation like that are landing. So if you have a 15-round magazine, 3, 4, maybe 5 of those shots are actually getting on target. The other part that people don't think about is even with a mortal shot or wound, an attacker can still come at you for about 10 to 15 seconds until their body falls out. That is a lifetime. When you look at the average duration and the average distance for most self-defense situations, 10 to 15 seconds seems like a lifetime in that moment. Now, I've never personally been in that, but just putting yourself in those shoes, counting just to 15 and understand somebody is actively trying to attack you, even with a good shot, that's kind of scary. The other thing is too, police often don't know how many rounds they fire during these interactions. It's only once those shell casings are actually examined, body cam is examined, that they realize how many shots they took. Again, there's a lot of things going on, and it is this tense emotions and adrenaline. Everything is just overtaking all parts of you. So you're going to divert to the training that you've had, whatever training that is, good or bad. That's what you're going to divert to in a self-defense situation. The problem is it's going to be magnified. So how good you are, or even some of the mistakes you make, both things will be magnified in that moment. You know, the other thing too is handguns are just weaker, right? I mean, unless you hit the nervous system, there's really, it's going to be rare to just take one shot and that incapacitates them instantly. And so they come out with these studies and they said, hey, since, you know, police departments switched from revolvers to semi-autos, you know, the amount of shots actually went up, but they also have to account for what other people might have. And the FBI shootout in Miami, right? That was back in, I think, 1985. That showed some of these attackers that were shot mortally still shooting back and still unfortunately taking the lives of cops when that whole thing went down. The point is, this isn't Hollywood, this is the real world. You know, and the truth is, concealed carriers, what they really need to take from this is the fact that if these things happen, you're going to be scared. You're going to hope and pray that your training takes over and that it's been good enough in order to protect yourself. You could be facing multiple attackers. The chances of you guys being even closer than what a cop is in some of these videos is actually pretty good. So you have somebody right on top of you looking to take your life, probably armed. That is why you have to consider the type of gun you carry, but also the round count. And I know some of you guys are in states that are restricted. I feel for you, trust me, 100%. But carrying a spare magazine, and look, this is something that I have found myself just getting comfortable with the magazine that's in the one gun. Now, fortunately, manufacturers have found a way to get more rounds into really smaller and more shootable guns. The Bodyguard is a great example, the Shield Plus, the 43X, the Hellcat, whatever you like to carry. But these guns are fantastic, but still having a spare magazine, accounting for malfunctions, accounting for multiple people that could be trying to attack you. Now, how you carry a spare magazine, that's totally up to you. Holster makes them, of course, you guys can go through there. Neomag, that's actually been one of the better options that I think I've ever found, right? It's just a little magnet with a pocket clip, a really strong clip actually, and it goes inside of your pocket. You slide the magazine down, boom, it's basically flush right here with the inside of your pocket. You pull it out if you need it. But watching so many of these videos has really reminded me that I have to carry a spare magazine because these cops are running into these situations, I wouldn't say more than civilians because they estimate like 500,000 to up to 3 million self-defense cases happen every single year. That's a lot. Most of the time though, there's no shots fired. Most of the time, just the sight of a gun could scare away a potential attacker. Maybe 2 or 3 shots stop somebody. The point is, though, you don't choose the time or place. You don't choose to be in that situation, and you never know what could happen. So this has been a good reminder to me to carry a spare magazine. Stop being lazy about it. And I'm talking to myself here, and I'm just hoping that you can take something from one of those mistakes that I've made over the past couple years. I'll get in the habit of carrying a spare mag, and then I just won't. And seeing a lot of these videos has really opened my eyes up, man. You got to carry a spare mag, especially if you're in a restricted state. The other thing too is having somebody on your side in case you have to pull your firearm in self-defense. Now I looked it up. They said about 1 in 10 self-defense situations involve somebody just like a bystander, and maybe even less than that in normal self-defense situations because again, a lot of times there's no shots even fired. So they're pretty rare for somebody else to unfortunately get hurt or whatever, but it does happen. And so you're dealing with this situation. Now you could be facing criminal, civil liability, maybe another injured party. You don't know who to call. You're talking to the police. If police can't even remember the amount of rounds they fired out of their gun and can't remember all these details vividly until they look at a body cam, what are you going to do? Well, you might say the wrong thing. So that's why I signed up with Attorneys on Retainer. I switched over from the USCCA a couple of months ago, and this has been a fantastic move for a variety of different reasons. One really big reason, though, I'm not a fan of fine print. And what I mean by that is, unfortunately, the USCCA, they just lost my trust over the past couple of years. Do I think they've provided a pretty good service for some people out there? Sure, but there's been some high-profile cases in which there's a lot of cloudiness. And I'm sorry, but the one thing you don't do with the gun community is break their trust. And so a couple months ago, I made the decision to switch over to Attorneys on Retainer, and it's very simple. Why? First of all, the fine print. You ready? This is it. You think you will be charged, or reasonably think you'll be charged with a crime, felony or misdemeanor. You used your firearm in good faith, and you're a member at the time of this self-defense situation. There's your fine print. You have attorneys ready to go 24/7, 365. And these guys aren't looking for an excuse to get out of protecting you. I mean, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars just to be able to represent yourself. I mean, some people plea out. They can never get their gun rights back because they don't have the money to afford that. I don't know about you, but I don't have $50,000 or $100,000 just laying around in order to get my gun rights back. So here you are trying to protect yourself. You're doing the right thing. You're training. You're doing all of this. And then you use your firearm and then you're sued because of it, or something happens and now your family is in financial ruin. I hate that we even have to think about this, but unfortunately, when you carry a gun, the responsibilities just kind of stack up for us. So I want to have somebody on my side. They're available in every single state in the union, all 50 states. So you don't have to worry about that. Gun-free zones. Heck, they had a guy that, I think he came down from Florida. I'll have to really check on this. But anyways, he went up to New York with a gun that's legal in Florida, but New York sees it as an illegal gun because of the magazine capacity. And he used his gun in a justifiable self-defense. Attorneys on retainer was able to clear his name. There's situations that you could be in like that. I mean, any one of us could find ourselves in the situations that they cover. You come home from work after a long day. You decide to have a drink or two. Somebody breaks into your home. You use your firearm. Well, the police, prosecutors, they try to use that against you. Attorneys on retainer covers you. Again, you meet the 3 criteria, boom, you're good to go. They have a ton of different resources, training, they have it all, and it's one solid price. And these guys have built up real trust inside of the gun community. So what they did is I became an armed affiliate, so that way it can save you a little bit of money. So if you use the link and the discount code down in the description, you can save 25 bucks on the one-time sign-up fee. That's pretty freaking amazing. This is a service that you want for you and your family. So there you go. You know, when you're looking at these videos and, you know, you find yourself thinking, man, that's just way too much. This cop has gone overboard. Just think about the mental aspect. And that's another thing too, right? The psychological aspect of what happens afterwards. You know, there's a physiological aspect to this. There's also a psychological aspect. You take one shot, psychologically, maybe that attacker stops. But then physiologically, he can still come after you. Making that distinction, having somebody on your side, mental health training afterwards, carrying a spare magazine, all of these things are very important and, let's just be honest, relatively cheap to protect yourself, but also be prepared for a situation just like this. Honestly, let me know. Do you carry one or don't you? Love to hear your opinion, and let me know the best way you found to comfortably and conveniently carry a spare mag. Let me know down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.